Let's get one thing straight. Right now, the core problem with the version of history I am about to dissect is a fundamental miscalculation. A miscalculation of the real cost of existence. Its author went cherry-picking. Like a child picking seashells on the beach, they picked up the shiny gems, the rare moments of cooperation, the sterile lab-coat psychological experiments, and the one-in-a-million archaeological exceptions, just to paint a pretty picture. A picture that is, in reality, drenched in blood and tears. And then they dared to declare that this was the framework for the entire building of history. Can you believe that? A building, constructed from exceptions. I have to laugh out loud. This is a gross oversimplification. A simplification so crude that I will tell you exactly what it is. It's an insult to the millions, the billions of people who had to endure hell on earth for centuries. The author wove a fairy tale and called it history. They want us to believe. They want us to believe in a comfortable truth, a sedative for the conscience, a sweet lullaby before bed. But I've got news for you. History is not comfortable. And the truth, the absolute truth, is not comforting. This worldview, no matter how attractive it looks on the outside, no matter how humane it seems, is in fact a dangerous self-deception. It willfully ignores the dark, primitive forces that actually run this world. It downplays. It dismisses the power of the darkness inside every one of us, and the darkness in the power structures we ourselves have built. History is not a straight line upwards. Wake up. It is not a path covered in roses and sunlight. No, it is a cycle. A bloody, revolving cycle of ascension and collapse, of creation and destruction. But this author, they deliberately downplay it. What do they call the systems of oppression that lasted for millennia? Chattel slavery, brutal feudal exploitation, the savagery of colonialism. They turn all of that. I have to pause for a moment here. They turn all of that into minor mistakes, little scars, on a grand, unstoppable march of human goodness. Do you hear how ridiculous that sounds? I do. It rings like an alarm bell. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot write about a magnificent feast by only describing the desserts. You cannot ignore, you cannot turn your back on the slaughter, on the sweat and tears that were shed just to get those ingredients. You cannot celebrate. My voice is getting hard now. You cannot celebrate the survival of a few individuals in a horrific catastrophe, while ignoring the millions of innocent people who fell. That is not history. No, that is selective bias. That is a magic trick. A dangerous magic trick. Now, let's look closely at their so-called science. Let's look at the methodology. It is full of holes. It's like Swiss cheese. They take examples. A few prehistoric tribes, supposedly peaceful, dug up from a few specific sites, and they turn them into evidence, proof that our original nature is pure, gentle. Really, I have to take a deep breath just to say this. Really, they have deliberately, systematically, ignored countless other archaeological findings. Findings of horrifying massacres. Findings of weapons crafted not just to hunt deer, but to be used against their own kind. They ignore the skeletons with the undeniable marks of brutal death, from caved-in skulls to arrowheads lodged between ribs. They only pick the graves with no signs of violence, and they rush to declare, that is the norm. That is our true nature. This is not optimism. This is a fraud. A blatant intellectual forgery. Any serious anthropologist, any archaeologist, anyone who dares to look at the truth, will tell you that prehistoric life, it was a balance, a fragile, harsh balance. between in-group cooperation, yes, and brutal competition with outsiders. To romanticize it, to turn it into some Garden of Eden, a Rousseauian fantasy, is an insult to the intelligence of all of us. And then they keep going. Oh yes, they keep going by abusing psychological experiments. They love them. They take results from small groups, isolated, in sterile lab environments, where everyone knows they're being watched, where social pressure is incredibly high, and then they extrapolate. They recklessly apply those results to the billions of people, billions, living on this complex, chaotic planet. How naive. Hey, it makes me laugh. A bitter, cynical laugh. How dangerously naive. The lab is not the real world, a tiny economic game. With a few fake dollars, it cannot simulate. It can never simulate the terrifying complexity of a society in collapse, of a raging famine, of a brutal ideological war, of the primal fear you feel when your very survival is on the line. History has already proven this. It has proven it time and time and time again. When resources become scarce, when the fear of survival takes over, that thin veneer of civilization, the veneer this author blindly trusts, it cracks and it shatters faster than you can snap your fingers. We have seen this. We see it repeated in every catastrophe, from medieval famines to the most recent crisis. When the law fails, when order collapses, the most selfish and the most violent primitive instincts will rise mercilessly. But where does the author choose to look? They choose to look at the survivors helping each other. A beautiful image, touching, but they deliberately. I want you to hear this word, deliberately. Turn their backs on the other horrific sites, where people are willing to stab their comrades in the back, where they snatch food from the hands of children, where they trample each other just to get one more chance to live. This selective focus, it isn't optimism, it is a defect, a serious defect in its claim to be a complete picture of humanity. Next, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about the elephant in the room, the thing they deliberately avoided, power. I'm going to pause here. Let that word sink in. Power. This is the biggest hole, the fatal flaw in this entire rosy argument. If we humans are inherently good, if kindness is our fundamental instinct, then answer me this. I'm challenging you. Answer me. Why? WHY does every single time an individual or a group obtains absolute power, evil rises up so reliably, so predictably, like clockwork. This work has dodged. It has cowardly dodged a basic universal truth that individual goodness is fragile. It shatters. It shatters before the infinite temptation of power, of control. Dictators, tyrants, they don't appear from thin air. They don't spring up from the ground. No, they are nurtured, they are fed by the blind obedience, by the pervasive fear, and by the silence, the terrifying silence of millions. How my voice is rising now. How can a work claiming to be a history of humankind completely ignore the devastating power of collective silence, of passivity? This is not proof that goodness is winning. My voice is hardening. This is proof that cowardice is winning. And this so-called cooperation, the thing the author endlessly praises. Oh, we cooperate so beautifully, but they forget to tell you about its dark side. When do we cooperate the tightest, the most effectively? A pause, when we are united against a common enemy, a common threat. Our goodness, in truth, much of it, is in-group goodness. It is a social tool, a tool to strengthen the bonds of our tribe, to draw a clear line between us and them. The author has ignored a fact, an undeniable fact carved into the entire length of history. Tribalism is the most powerful primitive force of all. From the bloody tribal wars of prehistory to the hateful, divisive political polarization of our modern world today, we become good to our in-group. That's right, precisely so we can be cruel to our enemies more effectively. To describe kindness as some pure, universal, unconditional force is a dangerous distortion. It lulls us to sleep. It makes us complacent about the deep-seated prejudices, the hidden biases we still carry inside us. Aggression, tribalism. These are not moral failures that appeared late in history. No, they are an intrinsic part, an inseparable piece of our evolutionary mechanism. The ability to cooperate closely, tightly within the group always went hand in hand with the ability to be brutal, vicious to those outside the group. You cannot have one without the other. They are two sides of the same evolutionary coin. To separate them, to show only the bright side and hide the dark one, is an academic forgery, a shameful one. The author wants us to believe, to naively believe, that the conquerors, the dictators, the genocidal maniacs, are just a sick minority, roe wolves, in a world full of lambs. No, I have to harden my voice here. They are not the exception. They are the product, the inevitable product of a system, of social structures that have always encouraged ruthlessness, rewarded blind obedience, and nurtured apathy. Let's dig even deeper. Let's rip apart their so-called scientific foundation. They have systematically manipulated the history of research. They have turned flawed, controversial social psychology experiments into a solid shield for their one-sided argument. We need to expose the disgusting truth behind these sweet-sounding myths. How much ink did this work spend? Attacking, tearing down the classic studies on obedience, on authority. You know what I'm talking about. The experiments that showed, chillingly, that normal people just like you and me, are willing to inflict horrific pain on others, simply because a scientist in a white lab coat told them to. The author tries to explain it away. They make excuses. They say, oh, the participants didn't really want to do it. They were tricked. They were pressured. That result doesn't reflect their deep, true nature. A bitter, cynical laugh. What garbage. The uncomfortable, hard, terrifying truth is, the results of those experiments, even with their flaws, even with the manipulation, still point to one clear thing, that the tendency to obey authority, the tendency to abdicate personal conscience, is stronger. It is much, much stronger than innate goodness in millions of people. Trying to explain away, to excuse those cruel acts, that is not evidence of goodness winning. No, it is just a reflection of the author's own desperate desire to deny the darkness hiding inside every one of us. It is an indirect defense for the cowards, for those who looked away, who even enabled evil. You cannot, you hear me, you cannot build a hopeful future, a better world, on a foundation of denial, of covering up your own worst tendencies. And this, I have to take a deep breath. Try to hold back the anger. This is perhaps the thing that infuriates me the most. The naivete, the unbelievable modern-day naivete. This rose-colored view of history. It proves itself completely impotent, utterly useless, when faced with the harsh, urgent, global challenges that are bearing down on us right now. If we humans, my voice is dripping with sarcasm, are so quick to cooperate, so naturally willing to sacrifice for the common good, then answer me this. Why? Why? Are we still fumbling? Are we still drowning? Are we losing the fight against the global climate crisis? This problem It demands cooperation on a scale never before seen in history, across all nations. It demands the sacrifice of personal and national economic interests for the common good of the entire planet. But what do we see? A pause. We see a tidal wave of narrow-minded nationalism rising stronger than ever. We see major nations pulling out of climate agreements. We see suspicion, xenophobia, selfishness. It is escalating. Local kindness, the warmth of a small village, will not save this planet. My voice is rising now. I have to shout this. It will not save this planet while it is being burned to the ground by systemic greed and systemic selfishness. This work, it has deceived us with a beautiful slogan, goodness will prevail, but it does not. It does not offer a single realistic path, a single concrete mechanism for us to overcome, to defeat the brutal machinery of global capitalism, the horrific widening economic inequality, or the toxic media polarization that is poisoning every single conversation. The author has chosen to ignore, to turn a blind eye to the clearest, most modern sociological evidence of the serious, alarming decline in trust in each other, trust in our institutions, and even trust in truth itself. It's unreality. It lies right here. It completely fails to explain the world we are actually living in right now. A world where disinformation, lies, spread with lightning speed, faster than any good deed. A world where profit is placed above human life. A world where international cooperation is collapsing right before our very eyes. At this point, we have to be blunt. We have to wake up. I feel my hand wanting to slam the table. Bam! Wake up. Do not be deceived. Do not be lulled to sleep by this dangerous fairy tale any longer. This fake optimism. It is incredibly dangerous, precisely because it leads to complacency. It makes us drop our guard. If we are all inherently good, then why? Why do we have to fight? Why must we struggle relentlessly? If everything will just fix itself, if it will all get better by some natural law, then why should we sacrifice? Why shed blood, sweat, and tears? If all the world's problems are simply because of a few bad apples or some bad institutions, and not a pause, and not because of a dark seed hidden right inside our very nature, then we will never, ever learn our lesson to be vigilant against the rise of the next wave of tyranny, the next wave of genocide. I am telling you, we must reject this false, empty promise of a natural goodness. We cannot build more just institutions, more trustworthy systems, a more sustainable future by closing our eyes, by denying the fragility of human morality and the rapid infection of greed. In the presence of power, the hard truth is, progress is not the default setting. Peace is not our natural state. They are achievements. I have to emphasize this. Precious achievements. They are the result of a relentless, exhausting, agonizing effort in the war against the evil, selfish tendencies right inside ourselves and in the complex structures of power that we have created. I hate to admit this, but that is the truth, and our responsibility is to work with a real human being, a complex, terrifying, but also wondrous creature, a creature that carries within it, at the same time, both the capacity for absolute brutality and the capacity for breathtaking selflessness. You want hope? Fine. My voice is dropping now, full of intensity. Listen to me. But real hope, sustainable hope, powerful hope, it doesn't come from clinging to the naive belief that we are inherently good No, real hope. It's born from a much deeper, a much more honest place. It lies in our courage to admit and to understand just how evil, how brutal we are capable of being. But at the same time, a break we still resolve. We choose to fight every single day, in every tiny action, to be better, to rise above ourselves. That is not a gift handed to us passively by evolution. That is an act of resilient will. My voice is like steel now, a conscious, agonizing choice. We need to wake up. We need to analyze, mercilessly, without flinching, our own bloody failures from the past, not to fall into a pit of despair, but to know I'm beating my own chest, the real enemy, inside us, what it looks like, and how it operates. This world is desperate for realists, for people who get angry, who get outraged at injustice and lies. It does not need any more naive dreamers pining for a golden age that never existed. Be brave. Reject that sweet, coddling lecture. Be courageous. Confront the complexity, the contradiction, and the conflict inside our own human hearts. That alone is the only act of hope that means anything in this chaotic, uncertain age. Be strong. Throw that sedative of a book aside. One final pause, and let's start the fight. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much.